because coming in from,
Sideways.
after we got out of school, the mornings wasn't that bad, but after we got out of school, we'd get home a little bit before, usually around 4 o'clock. So we'd go through the kitchen, grab a big onion and a big piece of cornbread.
That's what you have for lunch? An onion?
Onion and
Ate it like
cornbread.
an apple?
Are you serious?
Yeah.
No, we didn't eat apple. Apples were dessert.
No, but you ate an onion?
Onion like an apple.
Onion.
You
yeah.
ate it?
Like-
Are you
yeah,
serious?
Like an apple.
Yeah,
That's gross.
it is. And then a big piece of cornbread. And we'd go to the field. What was gross was when we got to the field, especially if we was pulling cotton. We'd grab a bag and get out on your, bend over and fill that bag up with cotton, pull it to the trailer, dump it in, and go back and get another bag. Well, of course, you didn't fill very many bags after 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But that was 6 days a week. We did that. On Saturday, we worked all day.
And they didn't complain.
Then he did peanuts, right?
Yeah, Dad raised peanuts. We had, basically, he raised it for the hay, so to feed the stock. They'd build up the peanut vines, like hay out of them.
Oh, okay.
And sometimes
Peanuts
there'd be
grow
a few
on vines?
peanuts left over. Cows like peanut hay,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
It tastes,
Really?
tastes better.
yeah. A few peanuts mixed in with the hay. But
So who did you get along with most of all? Your sisters or your brothers?
You don't have
Well,
to.
I
Your
had
brother.
I had one brother, we used to, between the kids, we'd fight like cats and dogs,
Yeah.
but nobody else better mess with any of us. 'Cause
You were
They would have
protective of
trouble,
each
yeah.
other.
I used to fight with Geneva bad. We used to have knockdown drag outs.
Can't imagine.
She had a
So
big,
what is the difference in age between
she
you
had
and
a big
Geneva?
mouth?
she had a big mouth.
Don't tell
Still
them.
does.
Yeah, she still does.
Did you ever beat anybody up? Like at school?
Well, depends on how what you mean by beat up. We swung our fists a few times, but there wasn't very much beating going on. The principal, he'd grab us, tackle us before we got too bad.
So why did you and Geneva fight so much? Are you very similar?
Close to age.
She had a big mouth.
You tell her to shut up.
Would she tell your secrets?
No, she
I
bossed
didn't.
people around, man.
I didn't have any secrets.
She bossed you around.
She was kind of boss, but she was younger than me.
Yeah.
She was kind of bossy.
Yeah.
I didn't
How many
have-
people slept in the bed together? Y'all had 3 bedrooms?
Well, yeah, we had 3 bedrooms and 8 kids. So it was kind of crowded, especially when my uncle came to visit. Because he'd get in, it was a little bed,
Probably a double.
double bed. My uncle, and he was mother's uncle,
Who was his name?
Claude, Uncle
Oh,
Claude.
Claude.
He was about 70 years old. I thought he was way too old.
100?
Now it's not so bad, but he would come and they had me in the middle because my brother's 5 years older than me, so they put me in the middle. And I'd be over against James's back trying to, get as far away from Uncle Claude because he'd pinch me. If I got too close to him, he'd pinch me, and he pinched pretty hard. Too.
Yeah.
I was probably 13, 14 years old. I sure was glad when he left.
Did he come often?
He stayed with us for probably about a year,
Oh.
and
Did he come down from
he lived.
is
He
it
lived
Georgia?
out. He lived out. I think he lived out around Abilene. And I don't think he ever got married. He told me an interesting story one time. He was a cowboy, and he said they were out walking around there taking care of the stock cows, and it started raining. It was cold. It was in the winter time, and he said it started raining, and they kept trying to keep the cows from from wandering off, because the cows would wander, wind was blowing, it was cold, and those cows would go with the wind, so they'd try to keep them from drifting. And he said that, and then it turned out, rain turned to snow,
Mm-hmm.
so, and sleet. He said it was snowing and sleeting. But he said he stood out there until some guys came out to relieve him. He got back to the bunkhouse, and he was froze to the saddle. He couldn't get out. He couldn't get off the
Because
horse.
it melted and refroze.
He,
Yeah, it melted and
well,
refroze.
it started raining.
Yeah, and
It
his
Yeah.
pants
started
got
freezing.
wet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And he was froze to the
But
saddle
your
and couldn't
butt's
get
warm,
out.
too, so it keeps
So
it
he
warm.
started yelling for some help. He said finally somebody heard him, and they had to go get a hammer to break the ice so he could get off that horse.
Oh my
He said he
gosh.
felt sorry for the horse.
I'm sure.
So James, were your parents strict when you were growing up?
Strict.
Were they strict?
Oh,
He said, oh.
Mama wasn't too bad. We could, especially James, he could talk her into about anything. We could usually reason with Mama.
That's the end.
Papa didn't bend. He didn't even waver at all.
So you did what he said, or got the belt?
The razor.
Well, whatever he could lay his hands on.
He had a
Sometimes it
razor.
was belt.
Oh, it was a switch, wasn't it, from the tree outside?
No, he got her with a razor strap.
Razor.
What's a razor strap?
Is that where you sharpen those straps?
He used a straight edge razor, and he kept it sharp, and there was a strap hanging on the wall, and before he'd shave, he'd hit the razor on that strap a few times to sharpen it up real good.
So it was real thick.
Yeah, it was double belt too.
Yeah.
So when he come around, the first one hit you, and then another one would pop it.
Right.
Yeah, they gave Lois a whipping. She was 16, I think. They gave Lois a whipping. But they give Elizabeth a whipping with a cotton stalk about.
Why
They
was
pulled it
she
up out of
bad?
the ground.
Because that was the first thing he could put his hands on.
Yeah,
Was she bad, Elizabeth?
That's
She
Lois.
was a baby, right?
He said Lois.
No,
he
no,
said
Lois
Lois
got
he
the
gave,
strap.
he gave Lois a whipping when she was 16.
Lois.
But no, you
But
said
he
Elizabeth.
said Elizabeth with a cotton
Elizabeth was-
stalk.
Elizabeth was it
It-
Elizabeth?
He said Lois.
She's the baby.
No,
But
Lois.
Lois with the strap.
I
and then
What is
remember.
thing?
I know I remember he whipped Lois. I think it was Elizabeth that he got with a cotton stalk. He pulled it up, broke all those balls off.
I don't think she got very many though, cause she was
No.
the baby.
No, she didn't.
You said that.
No,
She saw everybody else. She's like, I'm not gonna.
she was spoiled rotten. She was 5
That's
years.
so
She was
cute.
5 years younger than Linda,
Yeah.
and so they spoiled her. But Flora and Velma and James really. Dad was. Oh.
What would they get in trouble for? Talking
Not
back?
a kid.
Not doing what, no, we didn't, you didn't talk, talk back one time, that was it. But, no, he just told us to do stuff and we, you know, we
Did it.
did it. We didn't give very many whippings.
He didn't take very many.
But it was different back then.
Yes.
Yeah, if whippets were still a thing, Brennan would be a little raw piece of meat by now. You wouldn't be able to see his
So
face.
was your dad a preacher? Was your dad a preacher?
No,
No?
he was a elder in a Primitive Baptist church, which is a deacon.
And then wasn't James a deacon too?
James said he was called to preach. And he preached up in Oklahoma, but
He would preach at all of our family reunions.
he,
James.
well, he lost his voice for about a year, maybe 2 years, where he just talked in a whisper, and he'd try to preach, but
He got sick or
Yeah,
something,
whatever.
pneumonia or whatever.
I never heard him really turn loose and preach. course, I wasn't around him that much. Back then, this was after, did he start preaching before you knew?
I think it's after he
I
retired.
think it was after.
It was after,
I think
yeah.
it was after.
It was after they moved to Oklahoma, so.
Yeah, they moved to Oklahoma when he was 18, right? When they got
No,
married.
he didn't go to Oklahoma when he got married. No, he was working, he was a roughneck when they got married,
What's a roughneck again?
working in the oil field.
Oil, that's right.
And he was a driller.
But he didn't do that very long.
He did it for, when he was supposed to be in high school.
Couple of years.
He started roughnecking, he quit school and started, I didn't find out till later, but he started roughnecking when he was 14 or 15, around Midland, Odessa.
Oh,
And by the time he'd worked there a year or so, and he had moved up to driller, which he was making good money for the time, especially him being 16 years old.
so he lived out there then?
Yeah, he lived out at Midland, Odessa, and out in that area. But
Who'd he live with?
hmm,
Who'd he live with?
the other roughnecks,
Oh,
they had a
oh,
they had little huts built up around the derrick. They basically stayed there around the derrick most of the time.
it was off
Sometimes
the
on,
island.
at night they'd go into town, but they usually stayed there by the derrick.
So what did you do for fun in Chico when you were growing up?
We didn't do anything in Chico because
There wasn't anything to do.
Went to Bridgeport.
on Saturday afternoon, we go, for a while, they showed, it wasn't a big projector, it was a little bitty,
Screen.
well, it was a little bitty screen, but it was a little bitty projector. I remember it cost us a dime to go see a Johnny Mac Brown show. Johnny Mac Brown was a cowboy,
A movie?
Okay, too
Movie.
much cheese and crap.
and he came, cost us a dime to go see that. We could go into Bridgeport and see at the big theater and get in for 15 cents.
Tell them when you went to see the Ten Commandments. When you went to see the Ten Commandments?
Oh, that was several years later when I went to see the Ten Commandments. Came on Sunday afternoon. I told my dad I wanted to go see a movie, and he didn't like movies. My dad would see one movie in his lifetime.
Really?
Oh, he said that was the ruin of America, didn't
Movies?
It was
he? Hollywood.
Can you imagine now?
I don't,
Hollywood was going to ruin America, didn't he say that?
well, he said he didn't like for us to go to the movies. He didn't like movies. Like I say, he went to one in his lifetime, and he said it was a war picture. He didn't like it, but he said the only good part about it was when they was down in the trenches, they could hold a cigarette up and they'd light it with the bullets flying over it. But he didn't like movies. He said it's not the movies. He said it won't hurt you, but he said every time you pay them at the theater, you're supporting their lifestyle in Hollywood. And he said I don't agree with their lifestyle.
Yeah, that's what it was.
That's why he was opposed to movies.
Tell,
He was also disapproved of TV,
Ah, of course.
and they didn't buy one until I joined the Marines.
tell Kennedy all the places you live in the Mediterranean when you're in the Marines. All the places y'all lived, or weren't you there 2 years?
No, I was on
ship?
a med cruise at 6 months.
I thought you were 2 years that you,
I spent 2 years in Hawaii.
Yeah.
and then I thought you were the rest of the time.
And after I came back to the States from Hawaii, then we went on a med cruise,
Okay.
Mediterranean cruise,
Oh,
for 6
okay.
months.
Okay.
But I saw all countries in the Mediterranean: Spain, France,
Germany?
Greece.
Germany's
I
not in the
didn't see it, no.
It's
Mediterranean.
not?
I didn't see Germany.
I don't know.
Are you serious?
Germany.
I haven't been in school in 30 years. How would I know what states were or countries were?
It's just some
Well,
knowledge you
it's,
should
That's
probably have.
not really.
Anyway,
You
you
memorize that?
you get a map and look at the Mediterranean, and we visited most of the countries
That's so
in the
cool.
Mediterranean.
But
Just
that was
in
all
in Europe, or did you visit like Egypt and Morocco and all in Africa and the Middle East too, or was it just in Europe?
Oh, it was just, this, the ports were in the Mediterranean Sea,
Yeah,
around.
but like the North Mediterranean, or did you go like
No,
to
we
the
went-
south
we
too?
went pretty well all the way around.
Oh, okay.
But
That's
you would
awesome.
only port for like a day or two, right?
Yeah, we was in, usually for, we'd usually hit them on the weekend and stay for 2 or 3 days.
Gotcha.
I remember one, we were going, I don't know where we'd been, I don't remember where, I think Spain, but anyway, we were going to Greece. And, we had a big storm came up on the Mediterranean, so the captain of the ship came on the speakers. He said, well, he said, most of the ships are gonna ride the storm out, in other words, go with the storm, and then come on to Athens after. He said, we're going to Athens. So we headed for Athens. And the sailors didn't batten down the hatches.
Uh-oh.
They battened them down, but not good. Because we were headed into that storm. And we were in the bow of the ship, about far forward as we got. That's where we always put the Marines, in the bow of the ship. And our old ship raised up on a wave, and then
Oh
it
my
would
gosh.
fall, hit the water.
I'd be so sad.
And fall.
Did the beds and everything come off the ground and,
Oh, everything that wasn't tied down.
yeah,
And like I say, the sailors didn't batten down
that's
the
batting
hatches.
down and tie
So
everything
water
down.
was coming in.
Uh,
Every time the ship would raise up and pop back down, water would come on top. We did that for, seemed like all night, but it was probably for an hour or two. Anyway, water started getting in the bottom of the ship. And our foot focus were there, all of our clothes were there, everything was up on the floor. And, so the captain came aboard, came on a loudspeaker, and he said, all right, Marines, he said, come up topside, because water's coming in your compartment. So we went up topside, we had to go from our section over to another section of the ship. So they strung up ropes because waves were coming over the ship. And if you didn't hold on to something, you'd wash you off the ship. So we finally got into another kind of a dry compartment over where the sailors were. They were snug. They were laughing at us because we were soaking wet.
Oh my gosh.
And we kept saying, you didn't batten down the hatches. But we stayed there, we stayed up there all night, and then finally we was headed toward Athens, and the storm passed us by, but our clothes were still wet.
That must have been scary though.
It was, yeah, it was kind of scary.
did y'all ever lose anybody? Did anybody ever die or get blown overboard by knocked overboard by a wave or?
No, I don't think
Never lost anybody?
no, we didn't, the guys hung onto the ropes as they went across. No, we didn't lose anybody.
So where else were you stationed the other year and a half?
Why?
Well, of course, I went in boot camp, San Diego.
How long is that?
we
3
went-
months? How long is that? 8 weeks? maybe?
About, seems like it was about 3 months. I remember I got on a airplane, love field, first time I'd been in a plane. It was a 4-engine jobber. We flew to San Diego, and that wasn't too bad. You'd have been sick, especially that 4-engine.
So is that like one as big as this house? Not a very big one?
No, that wasn't very big at all.
And they all went all the way to San Diego?
And we got to
How
we
long
got
that
to
took?
San Diego, and they got us off and marched us over to the recruit depot. And those DIs got on us. And I said, uh-oh.
Drill instructors.
I knew then I had made a mistake. I was
Full
scared of
Metal
those
Jacket.
DIs. They scared me. I had never been around a guy like that.
That movie Full Metal Jacket's kind of true, huh?
Oh, I tell
I
you.
don't think you've seen that.
The language, I never had heard some of the words. Boy, I tell you.
One of them punched her in the stomach, didn't they?
Or what was that? Richard
That
Gere
was-
movie.
that was
Officer and a
amazing.
Gentleman. Officer and a Gentleman. You remember that movie with
Yeah, we
Richard
saw
Gere?
that. I love that movie.
Because I got in trouble because I said, "Don't you eyeball me, boy," to Dad.
Well, I got,
Because that was in that movie.
I got almost the same thing. We were standing in we were in a hallway. I don't even remember what we were going to do now, but anyway, the DI said, eyeball straight ahead, you know, and they told us how to line up and what to do, and they're very graphic, very bad words. But anyway, we were standing there, said, look straight ahead. So I was standing there and this DI walked by me and I kind of glanced at him. He said, report to me when we get back to quarters. I said, yes, sir. So we went ahead and did what I think we was getting a shot. I don't know what we was doing. We got back to the quarters, got back to the tent. We had a duty tent and had a big board sitting in the ground where they dug it in, and another big board laying on top of it, and you pound that board. The DI'd say, what do you want? Request permission to enter, sir. So they say that 2 or 3 times, and finally they let you come in. And DI came back there, and he was out of shape. He was fat. Staff sergeant. And he said, you kind of looking around up there in that hallway, weren't you? And I started to say something, and he hit me in the stomach. He said, what'd you say? And I started answering him. Every time I'd try to say something, he'd hit me and blow, you know, I couldn't say anything. Hit me about 3 times, and then he said, next time I tell you not to cut your eyes around or not to look straight ahead, he said, you look straight ahead. And I said, yes, sir. So I got out of there. It didn't hurt, though. I mean, like I said, it knocked the breath out of me. But that's the only time. We were lucky, though, because about 3 or 4 weeks before we went in Paris Island in South Carolina, they went out on a night. The guys messed up somewhere. Anyway, they put them on a fourth night march through the swamps in South Carolina, and 3 of them drowned.
Oh.
So,
I wonder if alligator or something got them.
so they said y'all are lucky because, you know, they were cutting down on their.
So you went from San Diego to
Okay, then I went up to Camp Pendleton.
where's that?
Where that's just a little bit north of,
California.
it's still in California. For advanced training, infantry training, rifle range and the 2 mountains. Big agony and little agony.
Oh, you had to climb them a lot.
We had to climb, we had our packs on, which weighed about 65 pounds, and our rifles. We all carried our rifles everywhere we went. And our rifles. And it was that same staff sergeant, that fat one that hit me in the belly. He was my platoon leader. And we started up, and this was Mount Agony, big one. Big agony. And we started up a pack on and a rifle hanging on the pack, about 40 pounds. And so we started up the mountain, and he told the guy right behind him, he said, don't go around me. He said, stay behind me. So here we went up the mountain. Well, the guys in front of us, they started pulling ahead. And that staff sergeant, he was fat and overweight, out of shape. He was getting slower and slower, and we was falling farther and farther behind. And we were getting aggravated. Finally, he gave it up and called a Jeep. Jeep came by and picked him up and carried him to the top of the mountain. And there we were, 500 yards behind the other troops, so we had to try to catch him. It was rough. It was
That's why
rough.
they were so slim.
It was rough. We caught him by the time we got to the top, but we was kind of out of breath when we got there.
So y'all were there for 3 months or 6 months or?
No, we were there for, it was just the ITR Infantry Training Regiment, so we were there for about 6 weeks.
And where'd you go for that? Where'd you go after that?
We went back to San Diego. And,
Did you go to another state though? Were you in another state or were you in California and Hawaii the whole time?
850.
No, we went back to, well, I was in California and South Carolina most of the time.
I thought
North-
South Carolina,
actually,
North Carolina is what I thought it was.
I spent most of my time in, well, actually, I spent most of my time in Hawaii.
Are you going?
Where is it in North Carolina? Where were you on? What city? What city in North Carolina?
Charleston, it's out on the coast.
Yeah.
Camp Lejeune.
We need to do that.
Camp Lejeune. No, that's Camp Lejeune's in South Carolina. So we spent,
I thought Charleston was in South Carolina. Charleston in South Carolina? Brainiac?
Actually, maybe North Carolina. Charleston, South, Charleston, North.
Hmm.
Trying to see which one it sounds better as. Shouldn't you know?
Do
You
you
go
boys
So you
North
got to go to
Carolina
the
all
beach a
time.
lot
Geography?
then in North Carolina?
It's in
Were you there in the summer?
Let's look it up.
I went on vacation a few times with some friends of mine who lived in North Carolina. And, but we went to Myrtle Beach.
It is. It's South Carolina.
Did you listen to Snoop Dogg like I did at the House of Blues?
We did.
Who?
Snoop Dogg.
I don't know Snoop Dogg.
Oh my God.
You know, Sonny and them took me to listen to him.
I know George Jones and, you know,
Conway Twitty.
Conway Twitty and Loretta Lynn. And then later on, Johnny Cash.
Ow.
I mean, I even listened to a little bit of Elvis. Of course,
Elvis.
he came on the scene just as I was graduating from high school.
Elvis.
I remember when I was a senior in high school, this little kid out from Lubbock, Texas, started singing, Peggy Sue. Oh, I love you,
What was
Peggy
his
Sue.
name?
That was a big song when I was a senior in high school. And
He
we
was
had a
killed in
girl,
a plane
we had
crash.
we had a junior there.
Buddy Holly.
Buddy Holly.
Yeah, we had a junior in high school in Chico, and her name was Peggy Sue.
Oh, how
Actually,
funny.
her name was Peggy Sue. She got a lot of kids in it, a lot of songs. Buddy Holly wrote that song for you. She was cute, but she was my type. She was a cowgirl. She lived out west of town. All the cowgirls lived out west of town, all the farmers lived east of town.
I feel like my socks are from Walmart.
And I didn't eat all my cake.
You eat your cake?
You got me started talking.
And I've been busy. I was hungry.